Hello. Welcome to my backyard. Yeah, okay. So last video I talked about what this game is about. This video, and I was at, I think, I had 1.5 chapters done, so yeah. I'm now done with chapter 2, so that's good. Or stage 2 actually, but naming, nobody cares about that. Anyway, in this second half, in second half of chapters I only introduced one thing, so I can do more wide stuff with everything. And I thought, well, let's add a new type of movement, because just to spice things up, because yeah, I can. I had a difficult time thinking of what I should add, because I didn't want to copy Celeste again. Anyway, I copied Celeste. Yeah. That was the thing. I asked in a Discord server if anybody had any ideas for this, and somebody came up with a bubble that moves upwards, and you can slowly move that, but that kind of defeats the point of the entire game, because the game is fast-paced platforming, so for me, I think it would just feel boring. So I copied Celeste. Yeah, basically, it's different, but it's a lot like Celeste's feather mechanic, but it's a bubble because it's a lava bubble, and there's a lot of lava. You get it, but yeah, somebody came up with that idea and just thought I had to implement it. I had a little bit of a hard time to make it so the player wouldn't be able to stop moving it in the ball, because that would just make it a lot more easy. So I would keep the movement in the direction the player was last moving in, which was quite simple, but yeah. And so how I do the turning is just I just lerp. I just use a lerp, because that is very easy. It just interpolates between, I think that's the right word. I'm bad at words, but I think that's the right word. It just, from one value, it just goes slowly, it just goes to a different value. Most people are programmers here, so you probably already know what I mean. Yeah, that. Implementing this mechanic wasn't the hardest, biggest part of this, of course, because level design is a big part of a mechanic. So how you add it to the levels, and how it goes in tandem with different obstacles you already created. This was really fun to do for me. I also added a wall thing that the new power-up can't go through, so I can restrict where it goes. Makes it a bit easier for me, but so how I first started it, so how I introduce it, it's basically, it's put on the first time you see it, it's put on a pedestal, kind of, where you have a little open area where you can play around with the new movement if you want to, of course. And otherwise you just go up and then right, and then you are at the end of that subsection. I had to think of ways to combine it with the other two things from this chapter, the moving platforms and the bumpers. I didn't do the bumpers. I was a bit lazy, but the moving platforms worked so well with this. Like, I really love them. The first thing I thought of it was to use it as something you have to avoid. Later on I thought of making it so you have to avoid it and then land on it, so you can grapple on grapple and then dash the other way around. But I really love those two. Also, the new power-up combined with the collectibles also opened up some new areas, so you had to like backtrack a bit with the power-up. So you could reach places you couldn't with the normal power-up, and with backtrack a bit is just in the same subsection. So not a lot. Some areas with this new power-up are way too hard. Like, not way too hard, they are just really hard. Which is understandable because it's a completely different movement than you were used to for like 1.5 hours. I try to make every chapter about an hour, so yeah. You're used to the normal movement and then suddenly a new type of movement. I just like it, but still. It's hard to get used to it, and it moves really fast, as you probably already saw. Of course, this wasn't the only thing I added in the month since the last video. So, the first thing I did after I did the level design and finished chapter 2 and stuff, I started making the save system, which is I wanted 3 save slots because, well, that seems just better because you can save multiple saves. It's hard to explain. It's just really useful for some people. Yeah. So, it was really simple how I created the save slots. It was, I just made the saves work at first. I don't completely understand how they work, but they do. I copied it from a tutorial, so yeah. For some reason, the save thing that I copied doesn't want to grab variables from multiple objects, so I just did 2 saves per 2 files per save slot. It's hard to explain, but it basically works the same way. And when I made everything work, I just copied the thing that made the code basically and just changed the save file name. It was very simple to do, and well, it was just simple. I had some trouble, like I said, the save file did weird, and eventually the checkpoint system, how it works, it saves the ID of the object, but apparently the ID of the object changes if you if you close the game and restart it. So I couldn't store the object ID, I had to store the location of the point where it places you when you die. That was just a little bit annoying, but it was fine. And yeah, that was basically everything for the save object, for the save files. The art, I really like it because it shows you how many buttons of the collectible you have collected, and it shows you what stage or chapter state, they are called stages in this game, you're at, and the name of it. So the first chapter would be denial, second chapter would be anger, third chapter would be bargaining, fourth chapter would be depression, and fifth, acceptance. 5 stages of grief, that's why they are called stages, but I already explained that. I'm probably going to cut this out. Anyway, I also added a pause menu. It was very simple to do. I basically just created the buttons, made the screen for it just in a sprite because I'm lazy to just code the exact coordinates. This is a bit easier. I don't have to code everything. And I will already know where it is, so I won't need to do trial and error and stuff. And I made it a GIF, so every frame, so first frame, no buttons are selected, first frame, first button, second frame, second button, third frame, third button. That, very easy. And then just in the code, I just did the same thing for every other button menu and stuff. Just had the max button value just because I copied the code and it needs that to work. So I'm lazy, okay? If I can copy it, why not? And yeah, then I just added the functions, which is resuming the game, going back to main menu, or quitting, which is very simple. So that's that. And just it deactivates all objects. That's how you basically pause in Game Maker. It's really weird. I wish you could actually just pause it so everything stays in the same place and you can see everything. But this is good enough. It isn't bad, so who cares, right? Yeah. This video was a bit different, wasn't it? Just 3 different locations. Depends because this is still the first clip I'm recording. Yeah, I'm recording the end first. Well, everything outside, record that first, then everything. Then I go inside. You get the gist. Anyways, I will see you next time. Hopefully. Bye.